The difference between what God knows and what God knows, and what God does with what he knows, or he, and the difference between what a person does with what they know, or what they're aware of, depending on if they're male or female, and their motives and their reasons behind it. Well, people use information that they get or that they receive. They use information to either interest themselves, to give themselves some kind of interest, so that they actually collect the information because of interest, for whatever interest reasons. It's because they could use it for something, and it's always because they're planning on using it for something, or glad to be having known it, which is using it for something. They feel getting smarter, learning more, getting information. If God had information, or even if goddess had information, or if a deity had information, their information and their interest behind what they're wanting to know is completely different. Because first of all, a god that was getting information wouldn't care to be getting any information or wanting to be interested in information that had to do with people doing wrong or bad things, or sneaky things, or secret things that were illegal, that they could fear get caught, or that they were covering up, because he already knows what they're doing. But he's not interested in it. He's not interested in what they're doing. He already knows what they're doing. He's completely not interested in it because he already knows it. It doesn't interest him at all. So he's not pointing his finger at anybody. So God certainly wouldn't be pointing his finger at anyone, because he would be absolutely not interested already and totally bored of what they were doing, for he already knew. And it was not his plan to bust them, arrest them, or put them in jail, or even expose them, especially because he already knew what they were doing, and he already knew why they were doing it. And he would tell you that ever since the karmic world came into being and it was no longer divine when it became karmic, we all were expected to do it. So not only did he expect us to be all doing what we're doing, but he didn't plan it, he certainly expected that it would happen. So he's not going to blame anyone for the whole human race screwing up. If we all became a karmic human race, that's because karma affects us. In a karmic world, it's not a divine world anymore. The divinity that's divine is not karmic, and a karmic world is much different, and it used to be a divine world and divinity. Now it's a karmic world, and divinity's almost gone. It's almost been eradicated. So there's no more divine beings around anymore. They're all karmic beings. It's a problem. If we lose the divinity, this world will become karmic, and all of the karmic people in charge that are actually running this world are karmic people, not divine people. And if there are divine people running this world, well, I'll tell you, they're probably karmics, actually, and they could be a karmic divine, which means that karmics will use divine power of authority to impress upon other divinity or other divine powers or other karmic powers. And usually they're taking them down or taking them out, which means that the karmics don't like karmic power either. The karmics use divine power to eradicate karmic power, which they are karmics. So what is a karmic? A karmic is what happens when you don't have anymore a collective of individuals that are under you, that know who you are anymore, and that are all not affected in so many different ways, that one good thing you do affects 20 things bad and 20 things good. So in other words, the karmic world is not looking out for being each other, also responsible for each other. They're saying they're not responsible for each other. And in the old divinities, they used to take responsibility for each other. You know, I'm responsible for you. You have to be okay too. And ultimately, we lost that divinity and became karmic, which means it's every man for himself, every woman for herself. And now it's dog eat dog. It's called the karmic world. And that means that people under you will be influenced by you in negative and positive ways. In any way, it's never one or the other, it's mixed. When the collectives get mixed up and they're not pure and what they need to be, then when you affect the collective badly, it'll affect half of it good and half of it badly. That means you can't, if you try to do something good for a collective, well, screw up a third of it. And if it's good for 2/3 of it, it'll screw up a third of it, which means that that the world, when it started affecting and becoming influential, well, you either got to take the real power out of it, or else know how to fix it.